Hey, so I've been playing the Necromancer a lot on the Steam Deck, comparing it to other classes. Uh, they work well with controller or the Steam Deck because that's basically what the Steam Deck is. It's just Diablo 4 with a controller. And I've completely ditched minions now. I think that they're basically irrecoverable. They're not competitive with other builds, even with the Necromancer. And I wanted to show a little bit of gameplay of the new hot build. It's the Infinite Mist, Infamous Necromancer build that, it's true. It's way better than any minion build. I don't have infinite blood mist. I don't have cooldown reduction in all the places that you're supposed to have it. I'm looking for it, but even with, you know, mediocre gear, I'm just absolutely destroying everything in the game. This is not going to be a guide video. There's plenty of guide videos out there, written guides with people who know way more about the class and the theory crafting of how this build works than I do. But I want to show a little bit of gameplay and explain my thoughts as to why there's no use in hoping that minion builds come back, at least for now. Here's a really quick overview of my gear and how not optimized it is. So I do have cooldown reduction a little bit on the helmet. That's definitely what you want. My chest piece is, not the best. It has summoning skill damage. I don't have any summoning skills. The wand here is actually pretty good from what I understand. It's got lucky hit chance and a lot of damage over time things. It could definitely be worse. This is actually very good, I think. So it's got double cooldown reduction and lucky hit chance, which is exactly what you want. I need to get more mats to reroll that strength off. I'm just broke. This has lucky hit chance, and this has lucky hit chance, which is what you want. This amulet sucks. It needs to have cooldown reduction on it, but as you can see, I do not have optimized gear, and I'm just rolling through the World Tier 3 content. Hey, so this is a Tier 17 dungeon. I'm using a controller right now, a Switch Pro controller, to just emulate the Steam Deck, controller. The whole build is basically this item right here, which when you use Corpse Explosion, it shoots this little ghost out that's when the explosion happens, and they heat seek enemies. It's completely overpowered, and it's awesome. I'm level 61. I started using this build maybe level 55 or something. As soon as I got those gloves, I started using it. And funny enough, I was about to just quit the game because, I was not having fun at all with, Necromancer in general. I tried a Druid. The Druid's just not fun. And, I don't know, I was getting ready to just stop for a while and see how the balance patches changed the class gameplay. But somebody posted this build, and I was like, hey, I might as well try it. I got these gloves. And it's awesome. So basically what you're supposed to do is you pop Bone Storm, and you want to get corpses to spawn, and when you press Blood Mist, it's got a bunch of interactions that explode up to 5 corpses around you while you're in Blood Mist, and it cools down Blood Mist while you're doing that. So if you have optimal gear, you're going to be infinitely in Blood Mist. So you're not going to do any damage at all until you have corpses. But once you have one corpse, it's just over. You're absolutely obliterating everything. So this amount of damage is absolutely unfathomable with the minion builds. The entire time that I was playing with minions, I was just popping corpses, not for Corpse Explosion, but for the skeleton active ability that it heals your minions and it empowers them, right? But the whole damage scaling balance around minions is them having that buff, right? So the whole time you're just playing this, I've talked about it in my other videos, but it's basically this minion mini game where you're just keeping them alive, and they're not doing enough damage to justify that kind of gameplay. I think that they really need to address that. Maybe, like I said, at the high end, there is, your minions are just absolutely unstoppable and they're completely overpowered, but it takes way too long for that build to come online compared to something like this, right? You get one item and you're absolutely smashing everything. I am having kind of a hard time with one boss in particular. I try to do the capstone dungeon to get to World Tier 4. I think it's called Torment. when I was level 57 or something, and that dungeon is meant for level 70 and above. And I just absolutely smashed the dungeon. But when I got to the boss, who I'm not going to spoil who the boss is if you haven't got there, but I tried it 2 or 3 times before my equipment was damaged enough that I just, it was getting harder and harder for me to accomplish it. And it was kind of unfun to just die that much. I don't really like super hard boss fights. I get nervous. Like, I'm not a Dark Souls guy, but I think that if you can stick to it longer and you're just better at video games than me, you can use this build to get to World Tier 4 really quickly. Like you can see, I'm taking very little damage. You can look at the build guides, but a lot of it is around barrier, doing damage while you have barrier buffing your damage and your survivability, and a lot of lucky hit chance. So you can see my main ability here is the core skill. I think it's called Blight. And what that's doing is I pop this little pool underneath enemies, and it hits rapidly, and hopefully one of those hits creates a corpse. Because every time I damage an enemy, I have like a 12% chance to spawn a corpse, and I have lucky hit on top of that, which is what you stack with this build. And you spawn this corpse, it procs your Shadow Blight passive, which we can check out after this dungeon. But between that, the Shadow Blight passive, Decrepify, and these corpses exploding with the damage over time Blight, everything just gets absolutely decimated. At first, when I first switched to it, I thought, oh man, this is going to be, kind of an annoying build to play, and I understand that it has a lot of damage, but it's not going to be very fun. Wrong. Like, as soon as you just understand that you just need to get one corpse, and then you're going to, snowball your damage and chain your damage into everything, then the build really comes online. It's a little annoying when you're kind of just waiting for a corpse to spawn, but one of the things I saw is that people are using that Reap ability, which is a basic skill. It doesn't take any essence. And there's one of the, capstone attributes, if you spend enough skill points in it, is to automatically spawn a corpse when you hit with it once every 5 seconds. So you sit there, you reap the enemies, and you automatically, get a corpse for free. I think that one of the reasons that people at the higher end tend to be using Blight is because Blight is allowing you to proc the Shadow passage. Hold on. Yeah, Shadow Blight passive, I think it's called. Your key passive. Shadow Blight. Yeah, more consistently. I think that, I run around and these guys are still in my Blight like this, where if I reap them, they get hit once, and then the Shadow Blight passive lasts for however long it lasts. And it's a trade-off, right? Like, do you want more consistent corpses when you have mid-level gear like I do with not that much lucky hit chance? Or do you want your Shadow Blight passive to be a little bit more consistent, right? Since if you have all the cooldown reduction or whatever, this Bone Storm is going to always be up. I think at the higher end with high optimized gear, I think that Blight is a lot better to play with. Just when you're sort of more worried about survivability than I am right now. But I am probably going to switch to Reap just because my biggest concern is getting corpses to spawn in the first place. By the way, is anybody else annoyed that they don't have a map overlay yet? Because Jesus, it's annoying. I understand that they have the little GPS ability if you make a mark on the map, but you don't always want to go to a particular spot. You kind of want to search around, and man, it's pretty annoying to not have that. I really, really hope that they add that into the game. But yeah, I'm gonna get to the boss for this dungeon, and I'll show you that single target gameplay. So it turns out that dungeon did not have a boss, so that's not a very good example of single target. But I want to show you just how ridiculous the damage gets. So hopefully there's a lot of enemies here. But when I go into Blood Mist, right, and I pop all the damage over time procs, and I just start blasting the corpses, like, it just absolutely decimates everything. But one of the problems is, you can see I can't see anything on the ground there, so I couldn't see that explosion proc was going to go off. So I actually ended up dying trying to record and play at the same time with one monitor. I swear it's not the build being weak. It didn't cause me to die. It was user error. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why this build in this class is so strong on the controller or the Steam Deck. And it has to do with two issues. So one is, you can see my core ability there on the A trigger, Blight. That's very easy to use with a controller. You move around with the thumbstick as movement, and you press A to cast Blight, and you only cast Blight when you intend to do it by pressing A. On a keyboard and mouse, for whatever reason, I don't know why they designed it this way, but they do not allow you to have an additional bind for move only, like Path of Exile. So when you're left clicking, whatever you have on left click, you're going to accidentally cast it when you hover near or over a monster and you touch its hitbox to cast the ability. And that's really annoying, and it's just better on a controller. And with the Necromancer in particular, the second mechanic that makes the Steam Deck and a controller a little bit better than playing on the PC is how consuming corpses works. So on a PC, if you're using your mouse, for whatever reason, they decided that you have to actually mouse target a corpse on the ground and explode it. And you can see on the screen right now, there's a lot of, dust, black blight on the ground. You can't see any corpses in there at all. With a controller, it is going to target the corpse nearest to you automatically, even face you towards the corpse. So I think you can use the word objectively here, that it is just objectively better to play this particular build on the Steam Deck or a controller. It's stronger. You have less chance of actually missing corpses. You survive better because you're hitting the enemies more. Since I've started playing this build, if I have to do tough content, I've been doing it on my Steam Deck or with this Switch Pro controller because it's just better. Not that it's bad on keyboard and mouse, I'm not discouraging you from doing that, but if you have a controller and you play on the PC, I think that you should consider plugging in the controller to, play this build. I was using a Switch Pro controller. I can show you in another video how that works, but I just wanted to elaborate on that. So there you have it. Hopefully you liked this video. It's not a guide video, like I said, but it's just a little bit about my thoughts and particularly curated to how this build works on the Steam Deck. I want to also apologize for not uploading every day like I had been for the last couple days. Personal life has gotten crazy. That's over now, so hopefully I can get back to uploading every day. My goal is to upload 100 videos in a row every day on a streak. I think that would be pretty fun. And this is turning out to be a cool little hobby with editing and recording and seeing people actually watch the videos, even though it's not that many compared to other YouTubers. But it's great. So yeah, I appreciate when you guys comment and you ask me questions. So keep it up. And if you have any questions for me or any recommendations for what you'd like to see, requests, I would be more than happy to make a video on it if it's within reason. So, yep, see you in the next video.